Another artist, Rachel Berwick from Connecticut, who teaches glass at RISD, was a 2008 SARF fellow, and she studied ornithology and its history to locate stories of migration of both bird and man. And she worked closely with Ed Bronikowski at the National Zoo. And interestingly enough, one of the results of her project was helping to design the migratory bird facility there. So there are actual tangible outcomes. We were supposed to bring some show and tell. So because the artists don't have an opportunity to make things while they're here, a lot of them will buy computers, they have blogs, some are publishing books now. Actually, Joanna can comment on this because she's really been the committee chair the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, about some of the recent things. So it's as the program grows. So I'll pass around a catalog of Rachel Berwick that she had at Brown University after her experience of her SARF fellowship. And then we have a current exhibit on at African Art that involves a Brazilian artist who was part of that project as well. So a number of these fellowships have either led to or came out of the fact that relationships were developed while the artists were at the Smithsonian. Two other artists I wanted to just quickly show, Douglas Ross and Dan Steinhilber, who's here in Washington. So these artists come from all over. This is another fascinating thing for me, is that it's not just open to American artists, it's actually international. So we have artists from Germany, Africa, South America, Asia. So it's really also a forum for cultural exchange. Douglas Ross worked at Air and Space Museum, and I still would like to see, he did an earlier mixed media work in which he has a backpack that is strapped to him, and when he walks, there's a camera that only points north. And I always thought it would have been great to give a tour of the Smithsonian with that backpack facing north. You know, just as these artists discover the Smithsonian and do their research, they become very imaginative in how to engage the visitor. So that's yet another outcome that we didn't necessarily anticipate. One of the recent fellows who's still actually doing her fellowship is Jocelyn Chateauvert, who is a hand paper maker from Charleston, South Carolina. She's been studying plant life and macro, from the macro and micro perspective. And as a plant maker, if you've ever made paper, you know anything about handmade paper, it's essentially fiber and water. And so she's not a trained botanist by any means, but she's been a big fan and observer of botanical illustrations, so we were able to match her with Alice Tangerini, who was one of the leading botanical illustrators, and also match her with Vicki Funk, who oversees the Biological Diversity Research Center at Guyana Shield in Venezuela. I included these slides because Jocelyn was in I think this is in an exhibition at the Renwick, and these are huge paper lily clouds that she constructed. And then when she was in Guyana, she got to actually visit and see, you know, some of where those large lily pads are, and then even these really delicate flowers, which are very reminiscent of her work as well. So again, a combination of field work and also working in the museums and working in their collections. I'm going to try to close here so we can have more time, and I'd be happy to answer a lot of questions about it. I'm going to show one more slide. Just so you know, when we started, there were about 10 Smithsonian, maybe 12, that had been involved with the SARF program in 2007, and by 2008, we had over 100 people involved. So to me, that is an amazing increase. So I started thinking, if the Smithsonian staff is responding that way, so much more so for the visitors. And so that while it's the program is a valuable intersection to bring artists in and the scientists to meet with the artists, it's also leading to these exhibitions like the Hyperbolic Crochet Coral Reef Project. And I just wanted to end with this slide, even though it's not SARF, because I really hope this is the direction the program will go. I really feel we're at a stage where art is being cut from the school systems and people begin to segregate things. I think we're living in a time where people want to segregate things, and the creativity and imagination abounds anytime you walk into an art museum or a natural science museum, natural history museum. But once you move an art object like this near a coral reef, the making of this involves studying the specimens and species that were in there, and 20,000 people go through natural history every day who would never go to an art museum. And they see this and they can't categorize it. And you know what? That's what's powerful art. That's what's powerful about anything that has mysteries, is the fact that it can be so many things involving math and science, teaching math and science through crochet, ocean conservation, all of these different messages. So I think the opportunity to really show what I call art outside of the white box is a growing trend that I see out there, and I think the more that it trickles down even into school systems and community programs and projects, the better off we are all going to be. Thank you.